Hi, everybody. Welcome to Art School Live. Happy Friday. I'm your host for today, 𝗟𝗶𝗴𝗵. Eric is hosting the last day of Acrylic Live, our virtual online conference. So this is my last day hosting Art School Live. And it has been such a fun week getting to chat with artists and watching everyone paint. And I'm really excited for today. We have a watercolor artist with us, Geoff Allen, who is going to be on faculty at Pace. And his paintings are amazing. So I'm going to bring in, well, actually, Amandine is going to bring in Geoff Allen. Hi, Geoff. How are you?
Hey, good. Great. What I'm going to be doing today is repainting a painting I did in Palm Desert, and it's all about light and reflection in a pool.
Okay. I'm super excited. The painting you showed earlier, that's the one I saw on Instagram, and it's so cool. I think painting reflections is hard enough, but being able to do that in watercolor, which is just the craziest medium in itself, because it is nothing like any of the other mediums, since you have to paint dark to light and everything else. And watercolor, you have to paint light to dark because the paper is your white. So
Right.
I'm really excited to see what Geoff has to share with us today. So let's go ahead and get this show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes.
Welcome back. I'm not Eric Rhodes, obviously. He is still with Acrylic Live. So this is my last day hosting Art School Live, which has been super fun. If anyone's watching and doesn't know me, I am 𝗟𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵. I do a lot of things here at Streamline, but one of them is getting to do Art School Live when Eric is busy, and it's so much fun. With us today, we have watercolor artist Geoff Allen, who is such a talented painter, and I am super excited for what he's going to share with us today, which is painting reflections in a pool. It's such an amazing painting, and it's going to be really cool to watch this come together. So take it away, Geoff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Well, this is a painting I did out in Palm Desert during the festival there. And I did it really quick, and the sun was going down, and they wouldn't let me in any of the nice pools. And so I just painted the Best Western, and it went viral on Instagram. I got like 18,000 likes on this painting. And I took a picture of it poolside. I'm not sure if we can show that, but maybe later on. There it is.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Right. And what was really interesting about it is it was a pretty easy painting to do. And I did it like an hour and a quarter maybe, and I was rushing because the light was leaving, and I was just surprised about how many reactions I got to it. Anyhow, really like that. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process of painting the water part today. And it's funny, like a lot of times when I paint plein air, I just react to the scene. I do my best, and then later on you sort of think about, okay, what happened out there? Or what did I do? What did I see? And, you take all sorts of pictures, and, like I printed out a thing from the same day, and look at the difference in the color tone,
Yeah.
like I saw this the day of, but this is what the camera took. I mean, so that was kind of fascinating.
Yeah, cameras always lie.
Right. They're so limited. But I think what I wanted to just talk about first is the Fresnel effect, and that's just the steepness that you look at water at. If it's a really steep angle, you're sort of looking into the bottom of the pool in this case, and if you're looking at a very like grazing angle, you get more reflection of the sky. So up here in this, you can kind of see. It all kind of boils down to blues, and like a cool blue, warm blue. And I tried to start like with a warmer, cobalt blue here. And as I went down, I kind of switched to the pool color, which is a turquoise. So I changed hue and value as I went down. And, I know with watercolor, like you were saying, Carrie, it's like, what a crazy medium. But, when we look at the world, we think of how do you translate that into my medium? Like, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do second? And what do I need to do third? And I did do like a little, I put it too far away. Oh, and this is the painting I did that day. So, and I just, I broke it down really quick into what I was going to do. And this is basically my first wash into the pool. And what that was, it's sort of like this effect where I got some warmth of the sky in that evening, and then I transitioned to a blue sky, and then I transitioned to the pool. And watercolor does that really well. I mean, it's
Yeah.
funny, I'm painting water with water. So, and then the reflections are sort of like the reverse. Like you'll notice this is darker up here, and I go lighter. And that's just what I observed. And to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure why that is. And maybe if the light changed, you know, it would be different. And this third thing that sometimes I put in is it has to do with a shade going on top of the pool. So there's another layer of like shadows from the trees going across the pool, and that's, you can tell the hue here goes really warm. So more like ultramarine, cobalt ultramarine. So here I use my cool colors, my cool greens, and everyone was asking me, "Oh, what are you using? What are you using?" And if you see, can you see my palette here?
Yeah.
So I have a horizon blue, which is a Holbein color, and I have a Daniel Smith teal and cobalt turquoise Daniel Smith, and I have a Winsor Newton green, cobalt green. And I used a combination of all those, as well as like a warm and cool phthalo color as well. So I was really, all these colors, because there's so many, I was just sort of reacting to what I see. And every time I paint a pool, because they all use different colors, I use a different set of these. So I'll just go ahead and get started with this. And this is the painting. I started it this morning, and I sort of got to this point, and so I'll just go ahead and get started. And I painted this, and what I kind of like about this, like pools are like skies, you know, there's like a purity of blue color. It's all analogous, opposed to all this activity up here. So, but I like to kind of tie them together with like a shadow. So I'm just going to go into my paints here, using a little cobalt, little ultramarine, little alizarin. And I think I have a person here, and I have like a fence. And so I'm just going to start with that and kind of come up to the edge of the water, and then I'll start the water. So did you have any questions about any of this tricky stuff, any of this tricky watercolor stuff?
Not yet. I will when you start painting.
Okay. And then I have a person here. I'm just going to, just as if their shadow is, you know, like a long shadow. I kind of was doing that for drama. And I think I'm going to put some stripes or something in this. And maybe I'm just going to get some warmth, just to kind of denote arms. I know it's kind of tiny, and I'd like to zoom in on this, but I'm not sure if I can do that just this second. Just adding some water. I add the water just so it all kind of seeps down and connects together. We'll put a tiny bit of Van Dyke just to kind of darken this up, just so when I hit this, it really kind of goes dark. And I'm going to bring this tree shadow right through here, kind of a passionate mark, and then I'm just going to try and, you know, and then there's another tree further back here. I might just bring that through here and just kind of give the impression of shadows popping off those trees. And there's some lounges here, and I'm just going to connect them too with some shadows to the ground. And they might go into some sepia black, just to kind of crank on some value right underneath of those chairs. And see if I can't connect them to those shadows.
Maria is asking if you lifted off the color in the softer areas in the building and the trees.
No, I just added water. You know, I sort of wanted to get that glow of water. And here I'm just doing some, I kind of like to do, some splattering, some different marks here just to activate that area. And this is a bush right here, and I'm just going to try and connect that really quick. And now, okay, it's time to get going. So I'm going to use a mop to do this. And I'm going to start, it's kind of tricky. I have an iPad here. I was kind of talking about just the difference, like what am I going to look at? And so I think I want to try and stick with that general plan of kind of a warmth, and then go to a cobalt, and then go into like a teal color, which would be the bottom of the pool. So I'm going to start with that really quick, and I'm just going to mix up. Maybe I'll clean this out a bit. I don't know. I'm glad that you're showing the
color in your hat too.
Oh, am I getting in the way?
I love teal, so I'm drawn to everything teal.
Oh, teal. Me too. That's why this is my favorite color for. Okay, so sort of a dirty cobalt here. So here we go. So I'm just going to start. I'm just going to put a bunch of this on. This is 𝗟𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁 number 1 here. It's kind of like, and I just want, it gives this just a tiny bit of warmth. This is a Daniel Smith chromium tentrate, I think it is, up here. This it's kind of a close to, whoops. It's close to almost a yellow ochre, and so now you can see how much water I'm using. I'm going to put a little above here. I just want it to get a little bit. Tons of water. Okay, so as soon as I get here, and we know, watercolor, if it looks right, it's actually not dark enough. So
because it's going to dry lighter.
It's going to dry lighter, yeah. I like to say, and so it's all wet now, and even if I kind of hit it with a little moisture, like because I'm doing it quickly, it's going to all kind of flow together. And then I'm just going to take a little teal and add it to my puddle here of this. And I might even take some of this. This is a weird, crazy color.
Kind of reminds me of seafoam green.
Yeah. This is called compose green, and it's a Holbein color. And I think it's a mix of colors I'm already almost using. It's like a phthalo green and and maybe Hansa yellow. I think that's in it. And now I'm just going to go more to the teal, kind of cool it even more. And I want to really get darker here. I'm going to tilt this just slightly, give it a little more water because I want it to keep coming down. I'll add some more.
This is great. I was just telling someone yesterday that I hated using watercolors because I couldn't get the vibrancy I wanted. So I'm loving this demo because you are definitely making this very vibrant.
Well, it's really going to fade. Whoa, it's really going to fade quite a bit. And I'm just going to put a little something right there, just because I have it. A little real world. And let's like really punch it up. So phthalo, I might even grab, like I have some green shade. And this is a Daniel Smith color right here. A green shade phthalo. So I'm just putting that right in here, really just to kind of kick in. And like I said, it's all wet, so it's all like flowing down. And we'll just let that flow a little bit. And get all this stuff out of the way. Maybe I'm going to lose that little red that I put in there. Okay, so basically that first day I did something like this, a quick wash like this. And I hope that I can use a blow dryer to speed us up here. So we'll see how loud this gets. one thing I can do if it's, it's still really wet, so I think I can. Was that too bad? Was that awful?
No, I think Amandine turned you down just slightly, so
Oh,
it was
okay.
fine. She's got all the controls, so we're good.
I'm just going to put a couple streaks of light in this, and it's still sort of wet down here. And you can see I mixed some cobalt into this, and it's really the shadows. I'm trying to do some soft shadows in here, but I like kind of the streaky aspect of it right there. So, and you can tell it's still really wet. See how it's just spreading out?
Yeah.
So,
which is good because then you don't get those like hard lines.
Right. And I don't even mind it right there, like a little streaky hard line. I think it might be okay. But sometimes if I get scared, I'll go back into it to see if I can pull it out. Let's see. Maybe that is gonna. Let's just make that a little less. Anyhow. Okay. So Amandine, you're on again with the. You know, when I'm out in the desert, it's such, in the morning you can paint, and in the evening and you have moisture in the air, but as soon as midday it drops down to like 20% humidity, and sometimes it's really great with watercolors. You don't have to wait, but everything's a rush to get it done. So okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and start here, and we'll just see how I did in terms of judging my value, if I got enough saturation on here. It's still wet right down here, but once I start here, I think I'm not going to touch that for a little bit, so maybe it'll dry.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a non-painting question.
Sure.
What kind of tape do you use? That is always my question because I have not yet found a tape that will not tear watercolor paper.
Well, this is just regular masking tape, like they call it, like 1-day tape, and I try not to leave it on longer than 1 day.
I
And most
wonder
of my
if
paintings are
a cheaper tape will work better for watercolor because it won't be so sticky.
right. And as long as I don't leave it on too long, it works fine. It comes off great, and it has, and I'm using, just FYI, Arch's watercolor paper 140 rough, but it usually never tears. This tape hasn't torn it. I tried to go to a thinner tape, but I think I like this. It's like an inch wide.
Yeah. I'm going to have to hit up the dollar store and try to get some tape.
That's
been my biggest frustration. So I paint with gouache on watercolor paper, or sometimes pastel too, and I put some gesso on it, and every single time it tears, and I get so frustrated. I've had to glue paper back together because it broke.
Oh yeah, one time, and especially when you spend like the time you spend on something. So I'm just starting the reflection, which is, it's basically this, and it's like painting upside down, which is really kind of fun to do. And I just want to dirty this up a bit. I just put a little alizarin crimson permanent in there. I'm not sure if it's has such strong tinting. I put some of that phthalo red or green shade in there, but let's just see, maybe a little bit more. I just want to dirty it up a bit. It seems too pure. Whoops. Okay, we'll go with that. But see how much I have in this. I need tons because I want it to flow down. And we're just gonna go right into this. And sometimes this goes really, really quickly. And I like to add some water. See how I didn't quite hit the top of the edge?
Yeah.
And I'm just sometimes I just dip my finger in and make a little reservoir of water, and I'll just connect, and all of a sudden that water is just gonna
move it around,
flow into that. And sometimes it just makes a nice effect. And because the sun is coming through here, maybe I'll just kind of spread it out a little bit. And now I have to stay ahead of that water. And as I come down, I'm just going to get a little Hansa yellow, and I'm going to start kind of pushing that into this. So I'm going to try and get lighter as I come down here. Maybe I'll dirty that up a little tiny bit. And I'm looking at my trees. I'm just going to connect these trees.
Do you ever paint with gouache, Geoff?
Well, I do. Sometimes I have some on my palette, and if I get, if I get too wild and crazy, and I, go over a bunch of stuff, man, I do. I use some gouache to kind of to take it back. I'm just gonna try and break that a little bit and lighten it. But it's so hard. Like the skill of painting transparently, and then you sort of jump to the opaque world. Man, it is so hard to come back sometimes. Because you get used to going back at it with some of that opaqueness. And
Right.
so
I had the opposite experience. So I'm a pastel artist. And we went to Montana, and instead of bringing all my pastels, I was like, oh, I'll try watercolor. And I didn't realize that's when I learned that you have to paint light to dark in watercolor. As soon as I put everything down, I was like, oh, well, that's not right.
That's not right.
It's not a great experience. My first time.
That is just not supposed to be how it goes, right?
Yeah.
So I think the problem with splattering is sometimes it just goes where you don't want it to. You just want to get like a feeling of like light busting through there. I'm just going to put another bit of water, and hopefully it'll flow through some of this. But I know with this, it's like this is the time to be painterly with watercolor, just like busting some of these edges and adding water. Sometimes just like, and this is, even taking a slightly damp towel and just try and, move it along one way or another. So maybe I'm just going to bust that like that. Okay. And so I'm just going to just sort of moving like a machine coming through here. And this is going to, Well, how'd you do with the watercolor when you did? I mean,
it was terrible because I used it like, because I love color so much. I tried to use it like an opaque medium. So I was using a lot of it and less water. So it ended up coming out super shiny and just did not look good.
It didn't look, and sometimes I tell students, it's like they think like, because they come from the opaque world, and they're like, okay, I want that bright, so I'm going to thicken this up because I want that yellow to be a bright yellow. And what happens is you get rid of the white paper underneath, and it looks darker than you want it. So
yeah, exactly.
So I just want to tie, I just trying to mimic the activity up there.
This looks so cool.
But I want to make sure I'm going up here a little ultramarine, anything that's like a shadow, I'm going to go ultramarine. Here's some red shade phthalo with some alizarin crimson, and just make that really dark up there, really kind of pop in that edge a little bit. And some of that I think it'll come down into this. So, and when another thing, I think it's like with watercolor, it's so easy to get overwork this stuff too. Like I might be doing, so that's why I brought it up. Like,
yeah,
you think like, oh yeah, I can do this. I just want to get some of that texture that's going on there and just bring it down there. I mean, I like this underground world of stuff going on here. So now I'm gonna try and dry brush this and some splatter. Kind of use the splatter as a way of getting organic form really quick. Oops. And I'll just kind of go into sort of like a volley of passionate brushwork, and then you sort of, carefully try and weave it together. And then just that little connection I kind of see there, I think is important. And I see this in the picture. How am I doing on time? Because, sometimes like,
yeah, you've got like 20, 25 minutes.
oh, okay. Well, we're just cruising along here then. So I'm just going to come in. I really like this little liner for, it could just go, it allows me to kind of wiggle around and make some, fun marks, fun dry brush marks. Oh, and then I have some trees coming through here. So, I find that, too, that, like those trees, well, I think there was I start putting trees where they are moving stuff around in these, and it's all the same kind of stuff. So it allows, like, I kind of like it because I'm just going to splatter some of that color into that and let it come down. And maybe we'll go ahead. We'll let that guy go off. So what kind of brushes did you, when you use watercolor, Carrie?
I just use, I think it was like a number 6 round, because that was the one that came with the kit. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of things I've learned over the years watching people do this with. I've learned especially layering is really important with watercolor and with gouache.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had Robert Watts. I'm here in Encinitas, and it's close to the Watts Atelier, and I took several classes with Geoff Watts and his father, Robert Watts. And so I'm just adding another tree because I'm thinking I'm just going to try and fade it. So some water, more water, just maybe I'll just make it go fade there. I kind of like how they fade right at they sort of like disappear.
Yeah.
Right at the edge. So that needs to flow off. This guy's all done with his journey, so I'm just gonna, okay. And I'm gonna take, looking for a really shorty brush with, just so it's like mostly paint, less water in here. I'm just kind of trying to go for a ultramarine and some crimson. Well, this was a really great event out here. And why I thought this was sort of like a funny thing that happened to me is because I kept calling the nicer hotels, and eventually it's like the only place I could get in with my own hotel, which was the Best Western. So
that's so weird that they wouldn't let you in to paint.
Well, I had to, it's like a it's that bureaucracy kind of thing. Like they needed to, I need to ask the manager, and I did get into Indian Wells, which I'm really, really grateful about. Oops. And it was Elvis was the manager's name, and I just thought that was funny that Elvis let me in, to paint funny. There. So, and now I need to dry again because I want to go over this as you're like with one more layer. So basically I did this, and then I did this, and I could, darken sometimes, because it's going to fade. I kind of like the punch up here. Oh, another thing I want to do, this seems like it's, a lot of times when I'm painting, I'm tilting my head, right and left, trying to see the sheen. And I think I'm just going to try and scratch in some of this fence, like kind of. Okay, because I think that's a way of connecting them, but just subtly connecting the two, the upside down world here and the right side world. And okay, so I'm just gonna hit this again really quick. I really have to dry it well because I'm going to go right on top of it with like a whole nother thing. So I must say it's kind of nice painting pools, but it can really be hot because you're just out. I mean, I was all covered up, and so
Yeah.
as I'm painting, everyone else is in, a swimsuit, and I was like, sun protected. Okay, so now I'm thinking about just doing that last layer of it's sort of the overlapping of light. You know how a lot of times you want to look in glass and you like a store window and you go up to it and you sort of shade your eyes so you can look in, and the shade makes, I think when there's an overlap of like shadow on top of these reflections, it actually gets darker. And so what I want to do is sort of make a section of this go just a little bit darker. I did like a little home experiment, and we have a glass table, and what I did was I put this bowl on top of the glass table, and then about 4 inches underneath the glass table was another table, and I put paper on top of that. So it actually was like a boat resting on water. So, so this is when it was overcast sky and you see no effect of the light at all. And then so it was partly cloudy, and you can kind of start to see shadows on the white paper underneath. So that's like, that would be like, the ocean bottom, I guess. And then the most interesting thing was this one when full sun, and here's that overlap right here. You could see part of the reflection when it overlaps, the shadow gets really super dark. So that's what I'm going to try and do here with these. So I'm going to pretend that there's another tree maybe coming through here, and I'm just going to, or maybe it's the shadow of just this, just this wall, I think makes a shadow. So, and I want to make it pretty, I'm going to use a little brush so I can do quick little marks on this because it's still a little wet. And I don't want it to run too much together. So I'm going into a whole bunch of, cool or warmer blues, changing my hue. And I'm just going to go right up into this. And hopefully it'll feel like a shadow. And I'm just going to sort of, kind of go into this. I have some Vertideer, which is sort of a cool, it's semi-transparent. And if I want to kick, and maybe manganese, no, we'll try this. Like if I just splatter some of that in and then just connect it, I can maybe get some of that warm blue in there without disturbing all my little things I have going on. So there we go. Okay. And right here, let's see, maybe, I know, I'm just thinking, I'm just going to go ahead and put this tree, like a shadow of this tree right through here. The reference, if you look at it, has that too.
Yeah.
And I'll just sort of get a bigger brush here, and I think we'll just do a dramatic mark. So some of that overlap. So right in here, I'm just going to make it just going to pretend like it's passing through all this. And I'm going to do the same to this over here. Uh-oh, maybe I'm finishing too early.
That's okay. We won't penalize you. I know, it was kind of nice that it was still a little tiny wet doing that. And it's funny, it doesn't, I'm not sure if it matters about that abstraction too much. Just gonna. Anyhow, that's pretty close to done here. Sometimes another thing I do, taking another liner. Oh, maybe I will do this little guy, kind of coming back into this warm. And it would be good to do this when all this is wet, but I'm just going to try and re-wet some of this, so maybe this will kind of merge together a little bit. And I'm just going to put some of that fence coming across here. And then there's, of course, there's the concrete. Just some indication of ground. I think I'm at that overwork stage. Yeah. Well, this was fantastic. Just the way this came together was so great. It makes me want to try watercolor again for sure.
Well, one thing, it is pretty quick when you get those layers down and they
Mm-hmm.
dry, and I think you always have to have that alarm bell that says, okay, you can't touch it anymore, or you have to think about what you're going to do before touching it again, because
Mm-hmm.
like the fresh marks are the best, and you have to guard not to mess those up.
Yeah.
And see, I'm trying to. I wonder, see, and I don't even know this. It could be I can do it. I'm just gonna see if I can't do it. And I haven't done this before with these paintings, and I'm just gonna wet this and see if I can't pull a little. Just, it feels like, because I had this, and it's almost like, I'm just gonna see, just art wise, if I can kind of. I'm just soaking it. It's like, gotta hoo whistle. You gotta let it penetrate the paper just to see if I can.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see if it. I'm just gonna throw some water just so it keeps. Okay. Okay. That's it. So I kind of do that because I don't want the texture in the paper. You know, when you lift it, it sort of shifts texture a little bit, and I'm
Mhm.
hoping the water will sort of even that out for me because it's much gentler than me.
Yeah, wiping it away.
Right. And maybe we could just, I know this person, there was this woman who had like a God, she let me take pictures of her. I'm always, concerned, when you're around a pool, like, you're taking pictures and all these people are, they're like, oh, what's he taking pictures of? But she was nice enough to let me. So I'm just trying to get like some tones in there. And I'm going to take black, and that's all wet. I'm hoping maybe even a little phthalo kick of, we'll go red shade phthalo with some black just to go in there and try and create some stripes. So, talking about gouache and
Mhm.
watercolor. So I have a couple paints here and they have white in them. And so that helps. Like if I want to try and go back into something, that little bit of white helps me a bunch. So, and this is some gouache right here, and I can just kind of hit just to, pop this figure out a bit. Oops. Whoa. I keep putting the wrong color down, so I'm just trying to get some more. Okay. I know it's so little, so I'm trying to get oh. This is one of those, just the touching of it is just making it all so worse.
That's when you gotta stop.
That's when you right, okay. Well, it's a
I
little red
always
up there
do
is
that.
good. So maybe I could, I don't know. The watercolor world, they make a big deal. Like they're always like
Oh, they
pulling tape.
always do. Yeah, even with pastel, they always have to show the tape reveal.
I know, it's almost like, okay, unveil. I think people are sort of attracted to like think like all of a sudden it looks pure, when
Yeah.
you put the tape off. Like it's not like a. Can
It
I
looks,
zoom in? Is that okay?
yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
We'll zoom in and then I'll just do a little like, scan around. So this is like
Yeah.
that top part. Whoops. And I'll just do I can even go further too. So coming down, I know it's all abstraction and it's upside down and it's almost like you get a free pass,
Yeah.
for rendering, when you're doing something upside down because there's no way that people can kind of keep track of it all and it
Yeah.
all, it's all this and I try and do the same kind of things, plain line dot color texture down here and it's like when you make like a sepia painting or a painting just a
Mhm.
monochromatic painting, it's like it sort of frees you up to do brush work and little splatter, shift colors a bit,
Oh, that
anyhow.
looks so cool.
Oops, let me see back.
That turned out awesome. I definitely want to go paint a pool now.
Yeah. So Yeah, I think I'm going to try and demo something like this up at the Pace in May. I want to do it.
Ooh, especially going to Lake Tahoe and painting Tahoe and all those. Ooh, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, yeah, Tahoe, and yeah, just getting to the water there, that would be spectacular. Gosh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and there's some place called like Emerald Bay or something. Just the color. Yeah, and
Ooh, I'm
I
gonna have to
mean,
find that.
what I thought was kind of cool about these, it's like because the pools are this clean,
Yeah.
surface, you know, um, it's like it's like a lab, it's like
Mhm.
because everything is so pure here. It's one color and it's a rounded corners. And I think Tahoe will be like that, the water.
Yeah. So if you want to paint with Geoff, be sure to sign up for the plein air convention in May so that you can come and hang out with him and paint by the pool and paint in Tahoe. It's going to be awesome. Geoff, thank you so much for this demonstration. It was great.
Oh,
We put your website and your Instagram in the chat, so be sure to follow him. He does so many awesome paintings, so you definitely want to learn from him.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Geoff. And thank you to everyone who watched this week. It was a pleasure to be here with you hosting Art School Live all week. We learned so much and I had such a fun time. So thank you guys all, and you will have Eric back next week. Have a great day, everybody, and a great weekend.